cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Like, I remember to slow down. I'm doing introductions. And welcome to our Apocalypse rewatch of movie review.
Right. Welcome to the apocalypse.
Welcome to the Apocalypse.
Welcome to the apocalypse. Welcome to the apocalypse.
I was thinking about the helicopters coming in during Apocalypse Now.
Oh, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Or Skull Island. It's the same exact shot. Or it's in Force Awakens. Rise of Skywalker. No. But
Yes.
I'm just thinking about cinematography because that's what I worry about. But we're gonna do. We're not gonna do apocalyptic, like Contagion and Outbreak and stuff like that movies.
Right.
But we're gonna go back and rewatch a bunch of world-ending movies. And this week we're doing The World's End.
Right.
The last movie in the Cornetto trilogy. I had it right the first time,
Yep.
and then I questioned it. Written by Edgar Wright, directed by Edgar Wright, co-written by Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost helped some in there and stuff.
Okay.
And
yeah.
but it's the last in the Cornetto trilogy. And when we went and saw this movie in the theater, it's 7 years old.
When did that happen?
But when we went and saw this movie in the theater, we thought it was just a fun, five guys go on a bender, trying to reconnect and everything.
Relive their youth.
And whatever. And then strangely aliens show up. And
as they do.
And now that we've spent some time with this and learned about it and watched the making of and stuff like that, this is a super deep movie.
It is. There's so much going on. Yeah. Which is Edgar Wright.
Right.
You can go watch a movie of Edgar Wright's in the movie theater and have a great time, and then watch it for the 50th time and still learn new things and still see new stuff.
We do that with Scott Pilgrim all the time.
Yeah, and Baby Driver and Yep, and Hot Fuzz. I love Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
So much fun.
This was this movie is very layered. In a very strange way that you don't realize it's layered until you really, like you're saying, watch it for the 50th time. And we own this movie, so we've watched it a bunch. And it's about what is King? What is his first name? Simon Pegg. Gary King. It's about Gary King.
Gary King.
Coming to the realization that he's just gonna drink himself to death, So they graduate, and I think everybody probably went through this. You graduate, and you're like, life is going to be so awesome now. Yeah.
Everything is going to happen for me, and everything's possible. And 20 years later, and he's tried to kill himself, and he's trying to drink himself to death, and he
still has the same car and the same mixtape,
and he was responsible for his best friend almost dying because of a car accident, because he was ODing, and Nick Frost's character was drunk and took him to the hospital anyway, and so that's the Gary King story.
Right, that's Gary King. You have the other four. So you have Nick Frost, Martin Freeman, Patty Considine, and Eddie Marsh? No, there's no H. Marzin? Who Peter, Stephen, O-Man, and Andy, all of them having their adult lives and having Gary bring them back to his level, and them realizing that maybe Gary's not necessarily wrong about missing out on the good old days.
Right.
And a couple of them are divorced or separated from their wives, and a couple are living happily but not as happy, I think, as they want, and
it's like the four of them are completely divorced from the people that they all were when they were together.
Yeah.
And then Gary is completely divorced from like reality.
Right.
Like
right.
adulthood.
Right.
And all of them coming together, you kind of, they all, okay, what we're doing, the Nick Frost character is a lawyer, and and you could probably use a little more of the being an adult, and we could probably use a little more of the freewheeling
have a little bit more fun in our lives.
Yeah.
Which is something it's very weird to kind of go back and kind of come to this realization that we, Janice and I, are very much the balance between the two. We like to go out and have fun and go to the movies and go to concerts and raves and blah, 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 and go to Comic-Cons and stuff like that. But we also both have jobs and we're responsible and, pay our rent and pay multiple rents. But it's a really like kind of a spotlight on those people who kind of lose their way of remembering that you're supposed to be having fun when you're doing that and stuff like that. And then you have that whole thing, and then you have the corporatization of small town England that's also going on, where all the pubs look exactly the same and all the decor's the same. It's 12 bars in one night, but they all have the exact same beers and they all have the same exact layout.
And we actually experienced that specifically in Edinburgh. I didn't notice it as much in London, but London is gigantic, right? So in Edinburgh, we stayed on the Mile, which is the road that goes from the World's End, the pub, the World's End, which was actually right up against the wall in the old days, right? And then the road goes up to the castle. And there was probably 8 or 10 pubs that we went to, some of them repeatedly. The World's End was one of them, that were all owned by the same corporate company. And the reason why we knew that was A, because they all served the exact same beer, and B, when you got the menu, it was exactly the same
menu.
It looked and everything on it. So, I mean, you knew what to order, but
not the nachos.
Not the nachos. Don't get nachos in Scotland.
I don't know what that was. That was not salsa.
But so we've experienced that, kind of understand. It's what they call it, starbucking.
Starbucking, They talked about it in the making of, and it's also about the aliens coming down and trying to assimilate a new culture into their system by telling everybody you have to do it this way, which is very much the Starbuckian way that they're talking about. The visualness was the actual pubs, but the aliens are trying to get them to just straight out assimilate into our culture, and we're going to tell you how to live, pretty much. And not to get political or whatever, but a lot of political structures done that way, a lot of corporate structures done that way, a lot of religious structures done that way, where you can believe in whatever you want to believe as long as you believe in the same thing that we believe in. And anybody else that believes or does something differently than that is wrong. And so there's a spotlight on that. Oh, by the way, it's wrapped up in this thing of 5 guys going on a bender in their old hometown, getting drunk, and there's aliens involved. And blanks, trying to assimilate them.
Inks. They kept that, like, drunkenly trying to come up with,
which is one of the
what they were going to call
best
them.
Scenes in the whole movie is Gary and somebody else go to leave, and the 4 of them are around trying to figure out what to call these things after they got their first encounter with them in the bathroom. And Andy goes, there's so far there's been no better name than Boom Boom Blue Bloods or something like that. It's just like, I've had that exact conversation. We're going to have a deep philosophical conversation, and we're all going to come back to boom, boom, kitty fuck, or whatever, it ends up being,
Wow, that took a turn.
It did take a turn. But you have all these layers of this movie, and yet it's still shiny and fun, and awesome fight scenes, and
still holds up, like you said, 7 years old.
Still holds up really well.
Fun.
We have the DVD copy, not the Blu-ray copy, so our resolution isn't is super good or whatever. But I don't think it's necessarily.
This isn't Dunkirk.
It's not Dunkirk.
It doesn't need to be high res.
We'll have that conversation later. But
Okay.
I don't need a 4K TV.
No.
It's the apocalypse.
No.
But it's an interesting thing, because I was watching Cinema Wins today, and he was talking about how Edgar Wright, even with success of Baby Driver, box office wise, doesn't get a lot of love.
I know, and I don't get it.
And I don't get it because Shaun of the Dead is a zombie movie, and they wanted to make a zombie movie. There's layers to that.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz is a British take on American buddy cop movies.
Yep.
But there's a ton there. World's End is 5 guys getting drunk, but there's aliens, and there's layers there. And Scott Pilgrim is about this kid who can't get over a big breakup, but there's layers. There's all this stuff that's there.
Yeah.
And then you throw Baby Driver in there, and you're like, this is one of the better auteurs directing wise right now, and I don't think people really understand who he is.
Yeah, no, because they see the titles and they think, Hot Fuzz is this silly comedy cop thing, and Shaun of the Dead is a zombie movie, and Baby Driver is this kid going around driving cars. They don't really, but you have, and again, you've got it. Like, the more you watch his stuff, the more you find, the better. You just, all the uses of color and music and
which isn't a huge thing in this movie.
No,
but it's still there.
But they're not color, well, not music, but they do stuff to a beat. I think Edgar Wright thinks to a beat, like just normally, because they were practicing chugging beers, and they had to do it. There's 2 or 3 people standing there, and they've all got to pick up the beer and chug it to the same
rhythm
and then get done
down
at the same time. And all the blanks, that had the glowy eyes and mouth and everything, and they it was choreographed, that they were all in time stepping out together. And so I think his brain is just on a beat all the time.
They were talking about how much of a perfectionist he was, and he wants to do tons and tons and tons of takes. And as somebody who at one point in time in my life aspired to be in that world as an actor or director or whatever, creator, I'm very much that way. I'm not one of those okay, you get 1 or 2 takes and then we move on.
Right.
I don't want that pressure. I want to, whatever I'm doing, if it's not working the way I put it on the paper or how I'm telling them, I'm okay with let's do it. Let's have your input to do it a different way. And you could do that when you do have a bunch of different takes.
Right.
And you got to remember, too, that almost all of his movies are $40, $50 million movies at the most.
Yeah.
And so you can, and he's doing that with tons of takes and stuff like that. And that's not cheap.
Yeah.
And he's,
but there's not a whole lot of CGI or anything like that. It's,
I think there's more in this one than there is in the rest of the Cornello trilogy.
Probably just because of the blanks. I mean, they did glow, their eyes and stuff.
The eyes and stuff it glowed, but
not as much.
I don't know if you were paying attention during the making of stuff, but they actually that was a lot of it. That was practical. They had glasses that glowed, and they had the mouthpiece in their mouth.
They just amplified it.
And they just amplified it, which is really easy to do in post and stuff. And so, we can go on about Edgar. We'll just do a video about Edgar Wright. This movie is we're going to review Edgar Wright's filmology.
So at the end, the world does actually end.
The world does
in case
actually
you haven't
end.
seen this movie, it's 7 years old. The world does actually end because Gary King refuses to bow down to
their corporate overlords.
right, right. Who and who's the corporate overlord?
Oh,
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye.
He's like halfway through. He's like, "Oh my God, it's Bill Nye." I'm like, "Yeah." So they set off an EMP, and it wipes out all the technology, and Nick Frost's character is sitting around telling ghost stories of Gary King to all the little children
with mismatching glasses.
Yeah,
which is one of the funniest things.
They're duct taped together or whatever.
And they kind of tell the story of what happened to everybody, and it's just a fun movie that if you actually spend the time, there's layers there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of those.
It's fun on the surface. You can turn your mind off and just have fun with it, or again on the 50th viewing, take more of a deep dive.
And it's a good movie during like we're talking about with everything that's going on, where you can do some escapism with it and still be okay.
Although I wanted to go back. We have to go back. I just want to go back.
Right. We're trying. The one last thing is when this movie came out, we had a long discussion. I don't know. Could we do 12 pubs in one night, on one day?
Maybe in one day, although
we were close in the UK a couple times.
We don't drink beer anymore, and so I don't know if I could physically consume 12 pints of beer in a day.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
Not that we couldn't, like, alcohol-wise, it's beer, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know the carbonation and stuff.
And all the carbs.
Oh. So that's our review. I'm not going to give it a score. It's not one of those.
Edgar Wright. It's always a win.
It's always a win, right? Exactly. So that's our thoughts on our this week in apocalyptic movies with The World's End. What did you guys think? And our review of it. Let us know in the comments down below. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you're on the podcast feed, please follow us there. And we're on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitters. Please follow us there and share with your friends. They're looking for something else to watch or listen to, so might as well be us, right? And so till next time, if we don't see you, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.